Greetings, everyone. It is Arki Hodges here, president of the Black Achievement Fund. I hope everyone out there is doing well today. Today, of course, we're going to talk about what the Black Achievement Fund is for all of you who are just tuning in for the first time and are ready to join, but you just needed to hear a little bit more from me in order to do so. So we're going to get right into our program for today. We have a special treat for you. Today's class, the Incomparable Jones family. This is an amazing, remarkable family that everyone should know about their achievements and such, but it's such an inspiring story. So it's going to be a really good treat for those of you who are into history, and for anyone, even if you're not into history. This is just a really powerful story of resiliency, of genius, of Black excellence on display, courage, you name it. This story has some of everything. All right, so we'll be delving into the Incomparable Jones family right after I give you guys a brief overview of what the Black Achievement Fund is all about for those of you who have not joined yet. All right, if you are watching and you haven't joined, it's really easy. BAF.solutions. And as you're about to see, our mission and what we're about and what we're doing is very simple. What is the Black Achievement Fund? What is the Black Achievement Fund? The Black Achievement Fund is a nonprofit 501c3 economic and community development corporation. We have a simple mission of financing the grand development of Black America and beyond. How do we plan to do that? Through a simple system of collective economics, or UJAMA. Our motto, 10 million Black people and our allies, plus $9 a month equals $90 million every single month and over $1 billion a year for us to achieve our mission. That includes building new communities, building our own institutions, new schools, new cultural centers, recreational centers, new hospitals, dental clinics. All of these things we can accomplish by working together. A small amount of money, a large amount of people. The Black Achievement Fund is open to anyone who believes in our mission and our guiding principles, regardless of race, religion, political preference, or sexual orientation. As you may see, or I hope you're being aware through these teachings, that we've had a lot of help. It may seem like we have no friends, but it would be very regretful for us not to acknowledge those friends who have put their lives on the line to help Black people. So I want you to pay attention as we look at the lives of these extraordinary Black people in this new series that we've been showcasing, but also look at the people who have helped along the way. And that's one of the reasons why the Black Achievement Fund is open to anyone who believes in our mission and our vision, regardless of race, religion, political preference, or sexual orientation. I also want to point out that the Black Achievement Fund, we're not waiting until we get 10 million people. The Black Achievement Fund, since June of 2020, we've been collecting contributions, and we have made a remarkable achievement since then. For a full list of our achievements, or some of our achievements, you can go to our website, baf.solution, scroll all the way down. Amongst our notable achievements are our Kemet Club here in Atlanta, which is our very own members only cultural space where we have live events. We just had a open mic night on Saturday. Members come in and just hang out, lounge, use it for a variety of different reasons. We also own land. We have our own land in Toomsboro, Georgia, about 2 hours south of Atlanta. In addition to the 6 acres that we purchased all cash, We also were gifted an additional 2 acres of land for a total of 8 acres of land that we own collectively. And right now, we are fundraising to build our first collectively owned house, guest house on our land, so that when you go and visit, you're not just looking at an empty field, okay? So for those of you who want to donate, and we need all of you to donate, you go here to our Pyramid One fundraiser, and we're over $21,000. We need a little over $4,000, $4,800 to get to the $25,000 mark. So if you haven't made a contribution, or if you have and would like to make another contribution, you are more than welcome to do so. Right now, we have 199 donations. All right, we need to get those donations up. The Black Achievement Fund, ultimately, we are about establishing our own communities. When we talk about establishing our own communities, we're talking about municipalities. With the municipality, we have the full rights of self-governance. We have the ability to appoint our own mayor, our own city council. We have the ability to appoint and control our own sheriff, our own police department, our own court system. All of those things are within our rights as a municipality. So those are the things that the Black Achievement Fund is seeking to do. We hope that you join us now and not later. We're a nonprofit organization. All of your contributions are 100% tax deductible. And we have, like I said, already have tremendous achievements, so on and so forth. So without further ado, I want to get right into our story on the Incomparable Jones family. This story spans enslavement all the way to the beginning of the 20th century. And it's a remarkable story, once again, of resiliency, of courage, of determination, all of those things. And one of the things that I love about history, for me as a historian, is that all of it relates to the present. Not some of it, all of it. When you look at a family like the Jones family, and you see that they were buying land and starting their own communities 200 years ago in the midst of, during enslavement, in the most hostile racial environment you could imagine. And not only were they making a way, but they were thriving. They were educating their children and setting their children up to be leaders and pioneers of the next generation of African people. And their children went on to become extraordinary people. So let me stop talking and go right into the documentary. This is 27 minutes long. Then we'll go into a few questions and then the quiz. Okay, I was just watching this. This is okay. Looks like we're getting there.
This is the story of the incomparable Jones family. It started with their oldest ancestor, Charles. In the 1780s, slave traders were actively capturing Africans for the American slave trade. Charles and his two brothers were captured and brought on a slave ship, a trip so miserable that 1 in 5 Africans didn't survive. When the ship docked, his brothers tried to escape, and they were caught and killed. Charles was sold into bondage and eventually went to the Jeffries plantation of North Carolina. Charles' son Allen was born in 1794 into slavery, as all such children were. Masters encouraged their slaves to have offspring because it increased a slaveholder's holdings. Frederick Douglass wrote about watching an estate's value being counted. He saw human property being counted the same as livestock, a man the same as a horse, a woman the same as a cow, a child worth the same as a pig. Despite his conditions, Allen Jones became so skilled as a blacksmith that he earned money from extra work done in what little free time he had. He was industrious and determined to earn his freedom. He secured an agreement with his owner that he could buy his freedom, and he managed to save the very large sum. But when he paid it, as they had agreed, his owner decided to keep the money and refused to honor their agreement. Undeterred, Allen started all over again, this time asking a Quaker friend to help with the transaction. Yet again, despite the sale price being much higher, about $3,000, Allen saved enough to buy his own freedom, that of his wife Temperance, his father, and 3 children. And so in 1829, it was finally done. To see the actual bill of sale of one human being, Charles, for $350, bought by another, his son Allen, signed by Master George W. Jeffries, is wrenching. It's all too real when their descendants are people that we can know. Now free, the Jones family was living near Raleigh, North Carolina. Allen believed that education was the way to a better life, a belief that would endure through the Jones family for generations, but not one to simply enjoy his own hard-earned safety. He boldly built a school for Black children. Now, it was illegal then for slaves to learn to read and write, so most slaves and freed slaves were illiterate. Resistance was powerful, as were the laws, and in 1830, after the slave rebellion led by Nat Turner, the pressure intensified. In fact, one slave owner told his daughter, who caught one of her slaves trying to read, that he would have cut the right hand off of any slave who tried it. Fear of Blacks being educated was fierce. Frederick Douglass wrote, "Once a person was literate, they were unfit to be slaves." So perhaps it was no surprise that the school that Allen built was destroyed by local whites. He rebuilt it, and it was destroyed again and again. In 1842, he talked about it at a meeting in New York, and when he returned, a mob dragged him from his home and whipped him. The local newspaper said that it was justified for the sake of the law. So, with his life at risk, Allen sold his property, 2 acres, a home, and a blacksmith shop, loaded up the family in a wagon, and left North Carolina for good. On the way west, they learned about Oberlin, Ohio, a stop on the Underground Railroad that welcomed Blacks. If you made it to Oberlin, you made it to freedom. You didn't have to hide. You were accepted. Perhaps even more important for Allen, it was the home to the first white school to admit Black students. The Langston brothers were admitted in 1835, and 2 years later, it was the first to accept women. By 1900, it would grant a third of all the undergraduate degrees received by Black professionals in the country. The Langston's younger brother became the first Black elected official in Congress, and his grandson was Langston Hughes, the famous poet of the Harlem Renaissance. 6 of Allen and Temperance Jones's sons attended college in Oberlin, but not their sister, Athena, called Bethany, which her brother James, who would eventually have 4 daughters, would remember. But blacks were encouraged to continue north to Canada because of the fugitive slave law, which said that if you found a slave, you were expected to return the individual because they were technically stolen property. And if you didn't, you could be fined or imprisoned. Even free blacks were at risk of capture and re-enslavement with no right to trial. So in 1849, Allen's oldest son, James Monroe Jones, joined a group seeking safety across the border in Chatham, Ontario. They bought 800 acres, built 200 homes, and began cultivating the land. James had learned blacksmithing skills from his father, and he added engraving and gunsmithing. He became known as the finest gunsmith Canada ever produced and one of the most gifted west of London. They called him Gunsmith Jones. But despite his reputation, he still experienced the sting of his race. He won award after award for his work, and he was chosen to make pistols for the Prince of Wales when he came for a visit in 1860. But they would not be given to the future king because at the last minute, it was discovered that the beautiful pistols were made by the hands of a colored man. James would be appointed as a magistrate for life and would be remembered as the most polite man in his community. In Canada, James had married Emily Frances and they had 4 daughters, Anna, Sophia, Frederica, and Emily, and 2 sons, George and William. 4 of their children would eventually come to Monrovia, California. Remembering that his sister could not attend Oberlin College, James was adamant that his daughters could, and they did. All 4 graduated from college, a rare accomplishment for women in the 1870s, nearly impossible for women of color. Slavery was finally outlawed in the U.S. in 1865, and 5 years later, all men, regardless of their race, were considered equal under the law, and they had the right to vote, but not women. That wouldn't happen for 50 more years. This is the story of what James and Emily's daughters faced. It was counterbalanced by what they inherited from their forebears: intelligence, skill, determination, and the ability to overcome the toughest obstacles to accomplish the extraordinary. They made their own educational opportunities, they opened them for others as was done for them, and they used their capabilities fully with the strength and force of will in their DNA. James and Emily Jones' first daughter was Anna Holland Jones. She was born in Chatham in 1855. She moved to Oberlin, Ohio to attend high school, and she graduated from college in 1875 with a literary degree. She furthered her education by studying at Wilberforce University before she began to teach there. The college held her in such high esteem that it awarded her an honorary Master of Arts degree in 1892 and a Bachelor of Philosophy degree in 1893. She then embarked on her life's calling, giving African Americans, especially women and girls, access to a higher education. Her first teaching assignment was at the Lincoln Institute, where she taught for 4 years. The Institute is now Lincoln University, an historically black college in Jefferson City, Missouri. In 1884, her birthday gift was a gold locket engraved by her father. It reads, "Presented to Annie H. Jones by her pa, September 2nd, 1884. By 1885, Anna was teaching at Wilberforce University, named for William Wilberforce, who led the effort to end the slave trade out of England. This was a time when colleges were finally becoming open to Black Americans. Anna taught literature, history, and zoology and became the Dean of Women at Wilberforce. Wilberforce awarded her an honorary master's degree in 1892. She accepted a promotion that year to Kansas City, Missouri, and was the first Black female teacher at Lincoln High School, a school that was started to help freed slaves. In 1911, she became the first African-American principal in Kansas City at Douglas High School. Her friendship with fellow activist Josephine Yates launched her into the club movement in 1893. Together, they established the Kansas City's Colored Women's League, which ultimately joined what became the National Association of Colored Women. That national organization was led by Ida B. Wells, Mary Church Terrell, and it was connected with Harriet Tubman, who had escaped from slavery and returned 13 times to rescue others. The clubs built schools, ran orphanages, founded homes for the aged, set up kindergarten programs, and formed agencies to help female migrants from the South find jobs and affordable housing. Their motto was "Lifting as we climb." Her connection with the renowned W.E.B. Du Bois says volumes about her status about the Black intellectual elite. Du Bois was the first African American to earn a PhD from Harvard, co-founder of the NAACP, and creator of the Crisis magazine. He led the Niagara Movement, which was the civil rights group that preceded the NAACP. He believed that African Americans needed chances for advanced education to develop their full potential for leadership. So did Anna. Together, they promoted women's right to vote. He published her article in the 1915 issue of The Crisis, in which she wrote, "Of the four great institutions of human uplift, the home, the school, the church, and the state, woman has a direct controlling force in the first three institutions. In the state, her influence at present is indirect. Since her control in the three is unquestioned, should she not have the legal means, the ballot, to widen and deepen her work?" Anna was a prolific writer about the causes of equality, voting rights for women, education, and the status of the American Black woman. Her voice was important in the early civil rights movement. Her article, A Century's Progress of the American Colored Women, appeared in the 1905 Voice of the Negro, the first Southern periodical edited by African Americans. It featured Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. Her importance brought invitations to speak internationally. In 1900, she was one of two Black women to speak at the first Pan-African Conference in London. She traveled with Du Bois to the World's Fair in Paris for the Negro Exposition, which he and Booker T. Washington of the Tuskegee Institute created to counter images of Blacks as inferior. She wrote, "There is no inherent inferiority which education will not remove." Anna fought against a degrading narrative that labeled Black women as morally deficient, blaming them for their own plight as victims of sexual violence. Anna H. Jones embodied dignity, intelligence, culture, and refinement, as every photograph of her shows. They also reveal her sheer force of will. In 1904, she became the first single Black woman to purchase a home in Kansas City. It was on Montgall Avenue, a single block of African-American professionals, teachers, a high school principal with a master's degree from Cornell, editor of the Call newspaper, a doctor, the owner of a car dealership, and the granddaughter of Frederick Douglass. But Black residents were not welcome, regardless of their merits. Some whites claimed it would reduce the value of their homes. Pressure mounted, and in just 1 year, 1911, 5 of the 9 homes on the block were dynamited, including the home of the high school teacher living next door to Anna. The police gave no help, and the insurance company refused to pay their claim. Anna wrote about it in a letter to W.E.B. Du Bois. The Crisis magazine wrote, "For years, after she had bought her quiet and beautiful home on Montgall Avenue, Kansas City, she became a storm setter because the whites were determined she should not live there. They intimidated her, they wrote threats, threw bombs, but with amazing courage, she continued to live there." The details are in a stirring book by Margie Carr with the help of Renee Cochet, Anna's great-grandniece. Today, Anna's home is listed on the African American Heritage Trail of Kansas City, Missouri, and recognized with a marker on the National Votes for Women Trail. In 1919, Anna retired from her 40-year career as an educator, and she moved to Monrovia, California, joining her sisters Sophia and Emily and her brother George and his family. They lived at 1301 South Shamrock in a home that George had built. She headed the large household where they had an orange ranch next to the house on what is now Los Angeles Street. Monrovia had a vibrant Black community and it offered a health respite. Anna's belief in the power of clubs and the resolve to give African American girls access to higher education never waned. In 1920, she created the Anna H. Jones Club in Monrovia. To this day, the club gives college scholarships. Following Anna, it was led by presidents like Jenny Lockett, Mattie Buller, and Eldora Polk, who was later elected to the school board. The list of recipients is long, with Anna's great-nephew Edwin Thompson, Lois Gaston, former mayor of Duarte, Joni Golar-Yule, first Black female student body president of Monrovia High, Ron Husband, Disney's first African-American animator, and star athlete and artist John Parker. Anna passed away at the age of 77. Her death was noted in Du Bois' The Crisis magazine. It said, Anna Jones was a leader of women and in general was a fine and cultured influence in many kinds of work for social uplift. All this brought her prominence and praise, but it did not stay race prejudice. 20 years ago, the article went on to say, the death of Anna Jones would have aroused the whole West, but she has been retired since 1919 and has lived quietly in California. Anna was laid to rest in Monrovia's Live Oak Cemetery in an unmarked grave. Sophia Bethina, known as Bethany Jones, was the second daughter of James Monroe Jones and his wife Emily. Sophia was born in Chatham, Canada in 1857, likely named for her aunt Bethina. Since Canada had separate schools for Black students, the last one of which only closed in 1965, Sophia received her early education in a school for Black students. She then attended Wilberforce Collegiate Institute, which was designed specifically to prepare students from segregated schools to enter an integrated university. She was accepted at the University of Toronto in 1879, an achievement in itself. But after that, Sophia decided she wanted to be a doctor. She was denied entry to the University of Toronto's medical school, not because she wasn't capable, but because she was Black. So she taught school for a year, and then with her Jones family determination gene, she emigrated to the US and applied to the University of Michigan's medical school. In 1885, she became the first African-American female to graduate from that school with a medical degree. And the school's website claims pride in that, but it also says that students of color face discrimination in medical student housing, clerkships, and residency training, at least until the World War II era. But in time, the school would name a lectureship in infectious diseases after her, some conference facilities, and a scholarship fund for her and a Black male colleague. Unlike her sister Anna, she seems unimposing in photographs. Diminutive, maybe a bit delicate, perhaps quiet, but her life story shows that she was no less courageous or powerful. Her life would blend education and medicine. She would teach about and practice medicine and do pioneering work in public health for nearly 4 decades. In 1885, she began to teach at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. Spelman was established in 1881, just 4 years before, with $100 and 11 African-American, mostly illiterate students. J.P. Morgan had been so impressed with the founder's vision of offering these students a classical education, Latin, algebra, chemistry, etc., that he funded the school's expansion, and so the school's name was changed. It was named after his wife and her parents, who were abolitionists. Today, Spelman is the leading educational institution for African American women, with alumni like novelist Alice Walker and Marian Wright Edelman, who founded the Children's Defense Fund. Sophia was the first Black female faculty at Spelman, and she created its first nursing school. It would be the first training school for nurses in the South. In 1887, a letter of recommendation was written about her to Booker T. Washington, which said, "She is one of the brainiest colored women in the country and belongs to a family famous throughout the West for scholarship, culture, and refinement. I know of no other lady whom I can so freely recommend to you." Sophia then taught at Wilberforce University, as Anna had, and was its resident physician. She moved to other cities. She taught nursing in St. Louis. She practiced at the Frederick Douglass Hospital, the first Philadelphia hospital with a training school for Black nurses. She lived with her sister there and 6 female boarders, one of whom was Nina Du Bois, the pregnant wife of their close friend W.E. Du Bois. Clearly, they trusted her medical expertise. By 1903, she had opened a medical practice in Kansas City, where she lived with her sister Anna on Montgall Avenue. She moved quite a bit, always practicing medicine. She worked as a physician in Ann Arbor, lived with her brother George and his family. In 1913, her article, 50 Years of Negro Public Health, was published in the Annals of the American Academy of Politics and Social Science. Their contributors were considered leading experts and scholars. It was the first research publication by a Black female doctor in the field of medicine. But even so, the author's name is listed as S.B. Jones, M.D., disguising the fact that the author was a woman. When she wrote it, she was the resident physician of what would become the University of North Carolina. As if breaking barriers in medicine weren't enough, she was also an inventor. She was granted a patent for a barrel trunk. Finally, with her health fragile, in 1919, she moved to Monrovia and lived with her siblings at the family home on 1301 Shamrock, and there she spent the rest of her life. She passed away in 1932, just a few months after her sister Anna. And W.E.B. Du Bois' magazine, The Crisis, wrote about her passing, calling her a pioneer in medicine. It says, "She gave her life practically to the care of others and the teaching of hygiene. And on the last morning, she said, 'I was in hopes that I should awake in another country this morning.'" Sophia was also laid to rest in Monrovia's Live Oak Cemetery in an unmarked grave. Anna and Sophia's sister Frederica was born in 1858. She also became an accomplished educator. She graduated from the University of Michigan in 1887. She taught in 5 states, including at Wilberforce University and what became Florida A&M. She was the principal of Paul Quinn College, the oldest historically Black college in Texas. She opened a private school for African American girls in Philadelphia and one in Kansas City, Missouri, where she lived with her sisters on Montgall Avenue. She's mentioned in a book of notable Negro women, which said, despite her love of obscurity, she ranks among the leading educators of the race, noting her prominence as well as her intellectual ability. She had fragile health, passing away at the age of 47 from pneumonia before her siblings moved to Monrovia. The 4th sister, Emily Priscilla, was born in 1861, and she also became a teacher after college. She worked first at an industrial school founded by a woman, an ex-slave, to give vocational training and academics to African Americans. Later, she taught English at a Black private college in Virginia. She lived with Anna at the home on Montgall Avenue in Kansas City. She came to Monrovia in about 1919 and lived with her brother George and his wife Martha at first. And when her older sisters, Anna and Sophia, came, she lived with them until they passed away. Emily lived 20 years longer than her older sisters. She passed away in 1950 at the age of 88. She died within months of George's wife, Martha, and so her ashes are buried beneath Martha's, next to George's, but her grave was unmarked as well. None of the four Jones sisters ever married or had children, instead devoting their lives to their important work. Their oldest brother, George Allen Monroe Jones, named after his grandfather and his father, was a talented carpenter and craftsman. He was born in Chatham, Canada in 1863, and he came to the U.S. at about 1882. He married Martha C. Havener in 1898, and in 1900 they were living in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where Sophia had gone to university. George's parents lived with them in a home that George built. George and Martha had 5 children named after relatives: Emily Carolyn, George Livingston, James Monroe, Anna Havener, and Helen Cameron. George and his family came west to Monrovia in 1919, seeking a better climate for George's asthma and a safe haven for his sisters. Anna and Sophia financed the purchase of property for a small orange ranch on which George built a large house for their extended family at 1301 South Shamrock. Siblings Anna, Sophia, Emily, George, and his large family lived there together. One of his boys worked on the farm. George also worked as a carpenter, building homes for Quakers in Whittier. By 1930, George had built another home a half block north at 1247 South Shamrock, where he, his wife Martha, and a young grandson, Kenneth, lived. George passed away in 1944, Martha in 1951, and both are buried in Live Oak Cemetery. George was the only sibling to marry and to have children, so all of the Jones family descendants, and there are many, come from his branch of the family. Some carry Sophia's legacy in medicine forward, others are musicians or artists, some still live on the original family property. The youngest child, William Livingston Jones, was born in 1870, and like his siblings, he was born in Chatham, Canada. Less is known about him in part because he sadly died at the age of 23 of tuberculosis. That might have explained the appeal of Monrovia with its reputation as a haven for those with respiratory diseases. The Incomparable Jones family is inspiring, unforgettable, and undeniably important for their last hometown, Monrovia, to know about. Anna and Sophia are among the most influential Americans who ever lived here. But even though there's an exhibit about their family in a Canadian museum, books written about them, Monrovians have barely known who they are or what they did. And so today, we rediscover them and honor them for their powerful intelligence, their skill, their endurance, their hard work, and their sheer determination, the same qualities their ancestors had, shone brightly in their lives. Perhaps knowing them better can encourage us in our time. If they can accomplish all they did and persevere in the face of incredible headwinds, maybe we can as well.
I was absolutely blown away when I came across that documentary. And the woman who did it, hats off to her. You can tell that she really got into the project and did a lot of great research. I'm sorry. So I just want to thank her once again for providing us with knowledge of this incredible family. So, what was your take on what you saw? What was your biggest emotion? Brother Nassau, are you up here? You're on mute.
Okay, yeah, I'm Biz. Good to see you. Good to see everybody on there also. That was a wealth of information. I never heard of them. Of course, I heard of a lot of their accomplishments like W.E. Du Bois and other folks. But yeah, there were some phenomenal women. Strange, all four of them never got married. And then
Yeah.
and another thing, what was the thing where they never had a marker? All their graves were unmarked. Was that something that they planned or something the white folks wouldn't allow them to do?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's something that they're playing because,
Yeah,
I think they had the means to do so if they wanted to do so. But that was an interesting fact.
yeah. And I seen that moniker that brought me back to he's not heavy, he's my brother. When it was as we rise, we lift, and you see them lifting up as they climb. Because our modern thing is we see the arm coming over the wall, lifting up another black arm. But
Exactly.
yeah, that was very informative.
Yeah. One of the things that we don't study much about here in the States is the impact that slavery had on the black communities in Canada and those communities that were formed in Canada as a result of things like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. So to see African people, their great grandfather Charles being enslaved directly from Africa, him witnessing his brothers get killed trying to escape, but them still being courageous themselves and, undaunted, for him to have the skills to buy himself and all of his relatives. I mean, I'm starting to, I'm like, how much money was he making doing what he was doing? He purchased himself twice, his father, his wife, and his 3 or 4 kids at the time. I mean, when I see stories like this and I think about where we are today, I'm like, man, if we just understood, if we just knew our history, if we just knew that we persevered and we did even greater things than we're doing right now today, and to see what we're doing with the Black Achievement Fund, buying land, trying to establish our own community. I mean, look how long ago he did. They bought 800 acres and built 200 homes. These were real skills that they had cultivated that enabled them to just go somewhere fresh, start fresh, and create something from nothing. So, remarkable people. Anyone else?
Brother Caleb got his hand raised.
Brother Cliff, oh, you have the floor, brother.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Cliff, you have the floor.
What happened?
Can
Hello.
you hear us?
No. Hello.
Yeah,
What?
you have the floor, brother Khalid.
No, this is Pam. I'm sorry. I was just wanting to say I was also amazed of hearing I don't know which sister it was, the one that went to Texas and Paul Queen. Yeah, that was right there in my neighborhood. I am from Texas. And
Well,
to hear that and just finding it out was just shocking. Like I had family to go there to that college and go
Oh,
to that
wow.
school. Yeah. So that was just amazing. A bit of history. So yeah, that was exciting to know.
so
Thank you.
that
Thank
was
you.
was that the first black school in Texas?
No, it wasn't. We had two, but it was well known as one of the blacks that, yeah, you kind of growed up right there in town. So yeah,
Yeah.
it
Wow.
was.
And
Mhm.
now, it's all being connected to where we are right here in 2025. And you probably, like you said, you never knew that history, but
No, when you said Paul Queen, I was a little girl. And then my older cousins and I got some younger ones that's well, babies now would consider coming out of there, but they've now it's actually moved to Dallas now. But yeah, it was in Waco for she's my whole life.
wow, that's
Yeah, thank you for that.
no problem, no problem. Make sure you
Mhm.
share the information to the people that you know in that area.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I will.
Brother Caleb, you had your hand up?
No, no, I will raise my hand up for her.
Oh, okay, got
Yeah,
you.
you can go ahead and lower my hands.
Yeah. One of the other points that I wanted to talk a little bit about was how progressive you see the family being at a very, very early age. A lot of people don't know that 90% of all white people were illiterate during enslavement. 90%. Only 10% of white people could read or write. So when you look at what free blacks were doing, now you take that to over a third of free blacks being literate during enslavement. So triple the number of black people were educated in America over free whites. So it goes to show how much black people understood education to be the greatest way to remove yourself from poverty, the greatest way to defend yourself from enslavement. One of the things that I want to say about the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act is that it didn't just empower white people to re-enslave Africans who had made it successfully to the North from, enslavement. What it did was it gave insidious white people the opportunity to kidnap black people. Those who had never been enslaved were being kidnapped. You would have people from the South put out, have slave catchers, potential slave catchers go to the South and send them descriptions. Go to the North, send them descriptions of black people that they talk to in a pub or, in the streets or whatever. Give them some type of physical description, a birthmark or something like that. And then they would actually write that these people were enslaved and give the letter to that person, allow them to catch him for a fee, and they were enslaving blacks who were never even enslaved. This is how ruthless, our enemies have been. And the most paradoxical part of it all is that in the midst of being around the most cruelest white people that ever lived, you also had white people who were willing to risk not only their freedom, but their lives in order to help black people. And as you study African American history, as you study the history of America, you see not only black people themselves fighting against enslavement, but you see more than a handful of white people who are doing the same. And you see them at every stage and at every level of society. So that's again for those who criticize the Black Achievement Fund for being open to anyone who believes in our mission. All white people aren't our enemies. And again, as you begin to really study Black history, you'll begin to see that there have been a lot of friends of our race. I also wanted to talk about the very fact that you see a man choosing to make sure that all of his daughters are educated in a time when not only white people are illiterate all around them, black people are illiterate all around them, but he's saying to the world that women have the same capacity for leadership, for greatness as men do. And I'm going to demonstrate that by educating my daughters in the same way that I would educate my sons. And we'll let the proof be in the proverbial pudding. And that it was. So to see a black man at that time, you're talking about someone who was born enslaved, one generation removed from enslavement, and making this determination. So I want to give a special shout out to Brother James for having that foresight way, way, way back then. Did we have any other comments from any of you who are out there watching? Anything struck you? Nobody? The one last thing that I do want to talk about is the level of jealousy that Black people face even after enslavement. The very fact that you had a people not wanting to acknowledge or recognize anything that a Black person did that was brilliant. I mean, there is a level of psychoticness, for lack of a better word. Can you imagine a society that will say objectively, this is the best gun that has been produced west of London? Here it is. And the moment you hear that it was made by a Black person, all of a sudden, it's unworthy of your possession. Just think about the psychology of a society operating under that level of hypocrisy, under, that level of willful denial, and all to uphold a philosophy of white superiority in the midst of evidence of the opposite. Everyone knows that Black people created all of these things. And to willfully deny, and then to tell Black people to go off on your own, create your own society. And when they do that, and it's better than what they can produce, now you're jealous and you want to burn it down.
Yeah. But look, Brother Aki, that's happening today with this Project 25. By the way, did you get that email I sent you with Project 25? The whole book, actually, it was the whole book, 900 something pages.
No, I mean, I saw it, but I haven't had an opportunity to look at it.
Oh man, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. And we need to read that so we get a real well, we know what's going on, but that's their design, that's their plan, and he's implementing that. They're implementing it now. It's that what is it, Southern Regional something that put it together.
The one thing that I fear is the fact that we're no longer on the front lines of the fight against these battles anymore. When I'm looking at a lot of the protests against them, it ain't our people. It ain't our people. We definitely have to get out in the streets. We definitely have to fight back every step of the way, but we got to get in the streets. You know what I mean? We can't just leave it up to other people. And at the same time, we have to begin the process of pooling our capital together, building communities that we can actually defend.
Yeah.
Creating our own municipalities where we have a police force and not just a security team or security officers protecting all of our community. So we are really, really hoping that Black people can see that the pathway forward is in us investing in ourselves, in us investing in our own territory, us investing in establishing our own community and continuing to fight. I know that people think that organizations like the NAACP and all of those civil rights organizations are outdated and not needed. We still have to be vigilant politically. We still have to be vigilant politically. We still have to be vigilant politically. So we have to make sure that younger people understand this and that all of our young people within our orbit are astute politically and making sure that they're voting on every level, on the local level, the state level, and the federal level. So thank you for bringing that up. Before I go, I also wanted to share with you all that the Black Achievement Fund, in collaboration with one of our members who is a promoter, we're going to be hosting some camping, glamping, drive-in concerts on our land in Toomsboro, Georgia, starting the July 4th weekend. So July 5th is going to be the first overnight jam. So we're going to be out there camping, glamping, jamming. There's going to be a comedy show, DJs, some surprise artists, they haven't been named yet, from the 80s and 90s, vendors, food vendors, cultural arts vendors. $89 per vehicle. You can have up to 5 occupants per vehicle. So we made it extremely affordable, and you can actually get your tickets now. We will have the vendor tickets up within the next week or so. But this will be the third such event that our promoter has done with this camping, glamping type of drive-in concert vibe. All of the previous 2 have been successful, and now he is bringing it to our land. So for those of you who have not been to the land yet, this would be a great opportunity to come with other Black Achievement Fund members are going to be there, of course, and other Black people from not just the Atlanta area, but the Macon, the Milledgeville, Augusta, Georgia. So it's going to be like a great, great, great camping, glamping family gathering July 5th weekend. All right, so for those of you who want something fun and different to do, make sure you come out to our camping, glamping, and jamming drive-in concert series. And there's even prizes for the best tent. There's a $500 prize for the best tent setup. And you'll see more marketing advertisement as we go forward in the season towards 4th of July. All right. Once again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Please make sure that you share this video of the Incomparable Jones family. And if you have not joined the Black Achievement Fund, get off the sideline, join BAF.solutions/join. We need you in the fight. For those of you who are in the Atlanta metro area, please make sure that you come by the Kemet Club and check out what's going on in the Kemet Club. We have a live calendar on our website at baf.solutions. And I would like to see as many of you as possible at our July 5th event. All right? So see you guys soon. Love you guys. Black Achievement Fund hug. And I'll see you soon.